Welcome back, F1 fans. Welcome here to the Hitting the Apex. We got a really awesome show for you guys today. We'll definitely talk about the Baku GP as we get ready to start racing again after another week off. Some interesting storylines headed into this weekend, and we'll get into that all now. But make sure you guys tune in as we got a really special show now on Hitting the Apex. Check it out. Always makes me want to dance, baby. Always makes me want to dance. Welcome back to Hitting the Apex here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons and on Instagram at Hitting the Apex 5R. Joined by the pit crew here, at least 3 of us, right? Nick, and Vish. What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah, Jazz, it's been so long since I've talked to you, man.
I know. My goodness.
30 seconds to cut over from one show to the other.
Well, this is going to be a happy show, not a depressing show like the last one we just did. But
That's a good thing.
We're excited, man. It's race week, baby. It's race week.
Exactly.
It's about time. I've been waiting for this one because I think this is going to be a really exciting race. Just based off of everything that happened last year as well. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know we've got some really interesting storylines as well that we're going to get into as far as just F1 is concerned altogether, budget cap issues, and just the upcoming schedule as well. So I think we'll definitely get into all of that. But before we do that, we definitely want to thank our sponsors. See, I'm going to do the shows right today. All right, we're going to do the sponsor. We're going to do the sponsor early.
2 shows in a row you remember to do the sponsor.
Man, Manny on the 1s and 2s in the background. Let's pull it up, baby. Here we go. You Brake Wheel Fix. It is our official sponsor for Hitting the Apex. You Brake Wheel Fix repairs damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with within house. Even do house powder coating, house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands such as Vossen, Forgiato, Fuel Off-Road, and more. They now even offer no credit check financing, up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. Fast turnaround times on all your repairs, and they even provide loaner wheels in many cases. You Brake Wheel Fix is your total automotive wheel solution located in North Miami, right off of Biscayne Boulevard and Northeast 146th Street. Check them out as some of their great work is on social media as well, from Instagram to Facebook at You Brake Wheel Fix. That's the letter U. Brake Wheel, like the wheel, fix, or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. You can even give them a call, 305-748-0112, and schedule your appointment today. You Brake Wheel Fix, changing the way you see wheels. All right. So let's get into it, man.
So, Jazz, just real quick, you mentioned last year's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Like, this was actually, that low-key was a huge moment in the season. That was the one, for those that don't remember, where Max was leading comfortably, and I forget his tire popped.
Right,
he crashed.
Yep.
Brought out the red flag, so that Hamilton was in second, and Hamilton skinned Perez off the line, but either he did it or the car malfunctioned, but it had this brake magic thing, which was a device on the brakes, and it's not supposed to be on when you're driving.
Right.
And it was on.
So he had to give him back this.
No. His brake stop it didn't work. So he overshot the corner and ended up and finished in last.
That's right.
Because it was like 2 laps. It was like 2 laps left in the race under red flag. So he overshoots the corner and the whole field passes him, and he's in last place. So they both at one point looked like they were getting 25 points. They both ended up with 0. So both of them, the whole last lap shootout in the last Grand Prix, that 25 points they both lost in the same race there. So
So let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah, it's a Baku city circuit in Azerbaijan. It's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's really not the Baku Grand Prix, but for Twitter's sake, hashtag Baku Grand Prix, because Azerbaijan is just too long to write anyways, okay? So the first time they raced there was 2016, 51 laps, right? Not the 77 laps we saw in was it Monaco, right? Yeah. God, right? Was it 77 laps? Well, no, it was. I guess it was supposed to be, but it didn't happen. It was supposed to be, right?
Actually, I don't even know how many laps they did because they switched to the time and they didn't show what lap they were on.
I think it ended up being like close to 60.
Okay. That makes sense. Gotcha. Interesting track. I'm actually taking a look at it now. DRS zones. 2 DRS zones in sector. Looks like sector 1 and sector 3, if I'm not mistaken, where the DRS zones
are.
Yeah,
so it's between 2 and 3, and between it's on the start finish straight, so kind of the last sector into the first sector. So like sorry, between the second and third turns. But the big DRS zone, I mean, if you look at the sector 3 and 4, it's one of the longest straights in Formula One.
Yes.
So that is the overtaking spot. It's the
kind of like Miami, right? Miami has does it rival Miami's or is it longer than Miami's?
This is longer. If you look like sector 3, like those are basically not turns.
That's true.
I think it's almost like it's at least over a mile long.
Yeah, that is it is. And then it's an interesting, as we talk about the track, if you look at sector 2, it's a lot of tight, twisty corners. You can't tell by looking at a diagram like this, but the wall is right there. It's a street circuit. So it's very tricky. You make a mistake, you wreck your car. And then it opens up into this huge straight, which is wide too. You can go 3 wide. That's how wide the straight is. So it's almost 2 tracks in one. It's a tight, twisty, narrow part, and then it opens up into these long straights. Yep.
So and it looks like there's a lot of like chicanes. It looks like from turn 7 to turn 13 is just like a bunch of tiny chicanes. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And look, that obviously that benefits certain drivers more than others. Again, it's probably sector 2 is probably going to be the fastest for Ferrari again, and then you're going to get sector 1 and sector 3. They're going to battle it out with Red Bull because Red Bull is obviously the faster on the straights. So they're using obviously the right tire, C3 to C5, C5 being the softest tire on the circuit either way. So I think that we're going to see a lot of C5s on this one. We're going to see a lot of we're probably not going to see that many stops as I think you pointed out. Talk to us a little about Vish and Nick. I want to get your take on just this track as a whole and what potential issues or what potential benefits could it have for certain teams. We'll start with you, Nick.
Well, honestly, this is one of my favorite tracks of the season, just because there's a little bit of everything here. There are the super long, fast straights that everyone likes to see, where there's a lot of possibilities for overtaking. And then there's also the tight corners and the chicanes and slow turns where drivers have to be really precise, or if they're off by a split second, they're in the wall. And it can ruin their entire race. So the fact that, like Vish said, it's kind of like 2 tracks in one, and the fact that it's just so long, like the races. I think the track is over like 4 kilometers long.
Yeah, it's a long. It says it right there, right? Yeah,
6.
Yeah, 6 kilometers.
There you go.
That's why you see the lap speeds.
That is over 4 though, so you were accurate.
4 miles, 4 miles long. I mean that's crazy. I mean the longest tracks usually are like 2.5 miles long. So the fact that this is an extra 1.5 miles really says a lot. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I think when it comes down to it, I feel like the team that is better on the straights, like Red Bull, this definitely favors them a little bit more than Ferrari, who is better in the corners. Where Ferrari will make up, in that second sector with a bunch of the tight corners and small edges. But if Red Bull gets a big lead, gets a pretty sizable lead, especially in the straights, like it'll be very hard to catch them. So It'll be interesting. I think it'll come down to strategy again. I don't think it'll come down to stops per se. And also, we'll see how many, safety cars and red flags we might get. I think we might see one, like last year. We'll definitely see some safety cars. So it'll just come down to strategy and then, you know, who ends up being the fastest.
Yeah, I think that again, it's going to be down to if Ferrari can make up enough time
Mhm.
eh, in these in sector 2,
Yeah.
because sector 1 and sector 3 is going to be, I mean, it's going to be Red Bull, right, Fish?
It should be, but in tracks like this, a lot of it has to do with setup. I think a lot of teams will probably have a different wing that they're going to want to use here. That's probably narrower. I mean, it won't be the Monza wing where it's basically not existent, but because you do have the twisty parts you do need to get through. But the big thing is going to be that balance and setup. The fastest raw lap time probably has more downforce on the car, where you would think
Right.
Ferrari would have the advantage, but do you set up for the race more? Because the only place you're going to overtake is on the straight. Like, you're not being faster in the twisty parts will help your qualifying lap time, but then when you get to the race, you want the speed on the straight. So it's kind of finding that right balance to make sure you qualify up at the front, but still have the pace in a straight line to overtake and to hold off being overtaken.
Right.
So this is a difficult wing setup to get right, because it's almost two different tracks connected together. The other
Right.
thing is, last year was a one stopper other than the red flag where everyone can then change for free. But remember, they still had the old rule of you had to start on the tire you qualified on.
Right.
So most of the top teams went from soft straight to the hard tire. Be interesting to see if, like, there's a better, more optimal strategy of going like medium and then hard, because you can qualify on the softs and then put the mediums on for the race, which you couldn't do last year.
Right, which
So
which that's my question, right? Like what tire? So obviously there's going to be tires that are going to benefit more, one car more than the others. We all know how tire degradation, how important it is with Ferrari, because they do have a tendency to wear their tires down a little bit quicker or a little bit faster. I guess more than the Red Bull or any others, to be quite honest with you. Is that strategy going to play into effect really how they start or what they qualify with? So I mean, is getting pole, is sitting on pole here just as important as a place like Monaco or Miami? No, right? So
no,
what's the biggest difference? How is it? How are you going to be able to say, well, hey, if we don't sit on pole here, if we don't start in P1, what's it going to take to be able to overtake or to be able to win this
well,
race?
the straight is there, so you will be able to overtake. It's a huge DRS zone, so there will
Okay.
be an opportunity to overtake. I think that the question though is, how much lap time do you compromise
Right.
in raw pace to make yourself faster on the straight, right? Like, so you got it's all about finding a balance. A lot of these, like, I mentioned Monza earlier, there's no balance at Monza. You go straight for the low downforce because it's all just straights.
Right.
Other tracks, Monaco being an example, where it's all tight corners, you go for a high downforce setup. You don't really worry about how am I going to overtake. You're not going to. So this one, you have both tracks in one, so it is a little bit more challenging. So the practices will be interesting as they mess with their setup, because again, new cars, not just bigger tires too. We kind of keep forgetting they're different tires than last year. So they'll try to find that balance. The other thing is, I agree with Nick that we generally do get, if not safety cars, red flags here, just because that back sector 2, is very tight.
Yep.
You do have Nicholas Latifi on the track, so and if there's any crash there, they have to red flag it because you can't get around. So it's not a situation. It's not just like, if it goes off wrong and then you have to fix a barrier. Basically, you block the track.
Right.
There's certain corners which are difficult to get through, that if you go off, you're basically causing a red flag.
Yeah.
And so I think in that instance, I would expect most teams to start on the mediums, because you can extend out that first stint and try to time it. The last thing you want to do is pit right before red flag and everyone else gets a free pit stop and you didn't, right? Then you're kind of screwed. So I think just to give them more flexibility, that probably most cars will probably start on the mediums here.
So that's my thing, right? Like in a perfect world, let's say there's no red flags, there's no accidents, right? You talked about a one stopper. Here's where I question that, right? Although it's only 51 laps, as Nick said, it is 6 kilometers, right? So it's a long race. So 51 laps here is probably 70 laps somewhere else, right? So putting that into perspective when it comes to tire degradation, wouldn't that really affect how many stops you do have as well? Because we're talking about maybe a one stopper because of the nature of how the track is built per se, with a lot of straights, and then that sector 2, which is all chicanes and all turns and corners and all that. Wouldn't that kind of play into if it's going to be one stop or two stops? And let's throw out traffic, and crashes. Let's throw out all of that.
Yeah, Vish, let me go first. Honestly, I think it could come into play not as much because of the fact that it is only 51 laps, which means the tires won't be turning as much into all of these corners and all of these chicanes. So if, like with Monaco, you're constantly having to do like you're having to do like multiple tracks because it's tight, it's corners, there's a lot of laps. So the tires are naturally going to, or especially around the edges, degrade. If with 51 laps and the fact that the track is very long, you're not going to really go. Or sorry, I'm trying to come up with what I'm supposed to say. You're not going to be using as much degradation because of the straights, and also because you're not going to be turning as much because of the 51 laps.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's always been a one stopper as the optimal strategy. This is like you said, Jazz, not counting if there's a red flag or a safety car, but like assuming it runs smoothly. The other there's a couple of factors in that though. One is that the pit lane itself is fairly long. I believe this has one of the longer deltas for a pit stop. So that's the amount of time you got to make up if you take an extra pit stop. But the other thing we have seen without fail is that that straight going from the last sector into the first one, the start finish straight. At the end of that is a runoff area where if you overshoot it, you kind of go off. Cars will definitely go off, but in an attempt to avoid that, we have seen drivers flat spot and ruin their tires and have to do an extra pit stop because of that. So that's something to look out for because you're coming in there at your maximum speed on your car because you've been on this long straight. And then if you don't hit the apex, look at that. If you don't hit the apex and you overshoot it, the smart drivers say, all right, I blew it, and they ease into the runoff area and turn around. But some of them panic and try to still make it, and that's when you can flat spot your tires really easily when you go in that speed and you lock up. So that's something to look out for too, because once you do that, you're kind of screwed. You have to go pit. So
would you think it would be an optimal strategy per se, or would you be surprised if you saw any of these guys start on something that they've used a little bit in practice?
I don't see much of a benefit to that unless there's some reason they feel like, for whatever reason, the fresh tires aren't giving them something. The only way they would do something like that generally is if they're out of new. Like it's better if medium's the right tire, it's better to start on a used medium than a new soft, for example. So if for whatever reason they don't have a set of tires they're comfortable with, or maybe they're trying to preserve one set. We have seen teams do that in the past, right, where I'm going to hold this back. We're probably not going to use it, but in case there's a red flag near the end, I'm going to have fresh rubber and everyone else is going to be screwed. So then they might run on, a used set of tires just to make that advantage bigger at the end of the race. So there are, those are all gambles. So,
right.
Yep. So we will see if who might mess with their strategy to try and, take advantage. If there is, a red flag, especially late in the race, like there was last year, then it bunches the whole field up, and if you don't have fresh rubber, you can easily get eaten up.
Let's look at the timing sessions real quick as we keep going forward here. It looks like practice 1, which starts on Friday, June 10th. Excuse me, 7 a.m. start for practice, which will I'll probably be watching as I'm getting ready for work. And then FP2 starts at 10 a.m., which is nice because I won't get any work done. So FP1, FP2, Friday, 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. FP3, which is Saturday morning at 7 a.m. as well, followed by the qualifying, which is at 10 a.m. So both days pretty much the same, 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then on Sunday morning, the actual GP, the Azerbaijan GP, starts at 7 a.m. So early morning start for us Americanos over here as we have
we should, you know what we should do on the race recap? Do what the Brits do and spend the entire show complaining about it and not talking about the race because they had to wake up early one time in Australia.
I'm down.
That's what we should do. That's what we should do. You know,
I'm down. I mean, we're pretty good at complaining over here too. So what the hell? Why not? Let's do it. So that's your timing session right there. 7 a.m. is Sunday is the Grand Prix. So keep it locked to ESPN, F1, F1 TV, or wherever it is that you watch, Sky Sports, whatever it is. So yeah, none of us down here are watching Sky Sports unless it's on F1 or ESPN anyway. So the weather forecast, I didn't pull it up, but now I'm pulling it up.
And there's no rain. We can move on.
And there's no rain. It is Azerbaijan.
Look at this! Look at that free advertising for City. What are we doing, Jazz?
Where is it? Where is it? City where?
No, you didn't see the ad. The ad popped up.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
awesome.
It. Manny
I did just buy new furniture, by the way.
Well, not City Furniture. It was Citibank.
Oh, Citibank. The city. That's my bank too.
Oh,
how about that?
Oh, well, now you're just verbally advertising.
Yeah, well, what am I gonna do? Yeah, that's how I feel today. All right, cool, nice. 84 degrees.
Yeah, it's a little bit cooler on Friday, but the rest of it's 80s, lows and 60s, high 60s, so 80s and 60s, so not really going to be a factor. One thing I did notice, when you got Carlos Sainz in the area, there some decent wind. Hopefully, it doesn't blow him off the track.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Damn it. I know.
11 miles per hour. Let's just hope he can keep it on. So
you stop it. Leave him alone. Speaking of drivers to watch, everyone's take on who's the driver or drivers that they are interested in seeing how they do. Vish, start off with you, my man.
Yeah, I'm going to. I mean, this is going to tip my prediction a little bit. It's Max. I don't know where this narrative started. Like, oh, Sergio's in the title hunt. Max is going to stomp him. It's going to put an end to all this nonsense. Pops got involved. Like, it is.
When Yost got involved, that was it.
Yeah.
It's over.
So he's got the hardware to do it. This is a the Red Bull in the straight is a beast. And I think he is going to dominate this entire weekend. I know that's a cop out because it's Max. So I'll give you another one. One of the things I've been looking at is the AlphaTauris have been bad, which is surprising because they're a Red Bull team and the Red Bulls looks like the fastest car now, and it's AlphaTauri has been pretty terrible. But Gasly is not necessarily dominating Tsunoda. Right. So I want to watch those two and see, because neither of them are doing really well. But for the last few years, Gasly has been clearly the better of the two drivers, whoever the other one was. So I'm looking at those two kind of as a downfield thing.
Nick, who do you got? What drivers are you watching?
Honestly, I am interested in how the Mercedes performs on this track, both cars, because we both know how Red Bull and Ferrari are probably going to perform. We know that Red Bull is going to beat beasts on the straights, and Ferrari's going to make up for it in the corners. But with all the recent upgrades that Mercedes has had, I'm kind of wondering how their car will react on these long straights and if they'll be able to keep up. I really do think that that'll be an interesting thing to see, especially going into practice and qualifying. If they're kind of near Ferrari and Red Bull after qualifying, then it could be a 3-team race, 3-team fight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, both of you bring up a great point on obviously Max kind of dominating this weekend, and the Mercedes. seeing if they can pick up any steam per se, and be competitive. I so
I was
I
about to
know.
say, Jazz, we almost like forced you to talk about Ferrari. You didn't do it on purpose, but like, what
No,
else is there? We went Mercedes, Red Bull. I mean, there's
I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball too, but I'm going to say obviously I want to see a bounce back from Leclerc, right? I want to see how he, kind of bounces back from Monaco, and if he can, if he can stay competitive and he can stay, he can compete with uh, Max. Primarily on the straights, I know in sector two he's gonna be good, right? So is Signs. I think they'll both be good in Sector 2. I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep up and challenge Max on the straights. It is still a fast car. Is it faster than Red Bull? I don't think so. But, listen, anything can kind of happen in these races. So I want to see a bounce back drive by Leclerc. But to be honest with you, for some reason, man, I just feel like this might be a really good race for Lando Norris. I want to see it. Look, I think that Lando happens to be just the more and more I think about it, the more and more I watch some of these races, the more I think that Lando's got what it takes to be one hell of a driver. I think he already is a really, really, really good driver. Obviously, he's not in the best in the best car right now, but he's still performing well, right? He still has some driving in him. So I think that this could be an interesting race for Lando Norris. I think he can, potentially be there at the end, battling for a podium spot. That's how I think Lando's going to be able to be able to compete this weekend coming up.
Yeah. To go off of you, Jazz, I think, it goes to with McLaren, it kind of goes to what I said earlier in the season. If they do have a shot at a podium, then they're going to have some luck on their side. Like, Leclerc spinning out at Imola and Norris was in fourth. He basically just gave him third place.
Right.
Um,
Well, this is the place for something like that to happen, right? So
yeah, of course this is the place. So I mean, I mean, I wouldn't mind to
yeah,
see it happen. But as a race thing, I would like to see the top cars competing against each other and going blow to blow.
absolutely. I think we can all say that unless somebody has something different, the teams to watch are definitely. It's still a race. It's still the challenge for me. It's Red Bull, Ferrari, and the rest just battling it out, man. We'll see what happens there. But I'm interested to see if Sainz and Leclerc can keep up with Checo and Max. And if they do, then it's gonna make for one hell of a season, because then you know that they're really in this to compete for a championship. I know Matthias said, and I hate this. He's so stupid. He's such a sissy sometimes with the things that he says. But saying that all he wanted to do, and I think he mentioned it I saw it on Twitter, that all he wanted to do this year was be competitive, not necessarily challenge for a championship. Like, get the hell out of here. All right? Don't give me that crap. Like, you want to, I don't care if you're Haas
Right
or
now.
Williams or Ferrari. Like, you want to challenge, man. You want to,
Well,
listen,
I mean,
I'm getting a little exaggerated with bringing Haas and Williams into this. But the point is, like, if you're Ferrari,
yeah, exactly.
don't give me that. Just
You're
be
Ferrari.
competitive. You're
That's not an
Ferrari.
acceptable attitude. You're
It's not.
Ferrari.
It's not.
Yeah,
So
that's some Al Golden crap, man. That's what that is. Like, what are we
if he's
doing?
doing it just to kind of talk crap and kind of just be that guy, be the Christian
Well, but
Horner
even
right now,
even if he said something like
downplay it,
yeah, but even if like if you said coming into the season we weren't sure how good we are, so we just wanted to be competitive, but now we know we can win. Like, that would be one thing, but to pretend like, oh yeah, we're fine finishing second, and what are you talking about?
No, we're not. None of us are.
So I don't know what his game is, but I can tell you right now, in Italy, they're not fine finishing second. So I don't know who that was for, but it certainly wasn't for the
bunch of crap. Get out of here with that crap. Don't give me that, Mattia. Anyways, weekend storylines. I think these are interesting. Let's talk a little bit about. Well, first of all, I think we went over this last week, but the standings haven't changed since last week, guys. In case you all were wondering, but no, they haven't changed. Max is still ahead, and then it's Leclerc, Sergio Perez, George Russell, and Carlos Sainz rounding off the top five. And then in the constructors, it is Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
right? McLaren.
Mhm.
So nothing new there. Nothing new there. But here's the one that it totally went over my head, man. I'm not gonna even lie, right? Like I totally missed this. Let's talk about this budget cap issues and what's going on with that.
Yeah,
I
let
honestly
me
I heard it from Vish. So Vish, I kind of want to
let me explain it, and then I want to get your guys' take on what you think should happen. So
Yes.
I think we all know inflation's a problem. So they have a hard budget cap, and most of the teams are in trouble because just like the cost of like shipping your cars back and forth is way more expensive than anyone budgeted for. So forget even we talked a lot about how is Red Bull blowing all their development budget. Take all of that out of the table. Just the raw cost of like fuel, sending your cars around, all that cuts into your budget.
Right.
So right now it looks like 7 of the 10 teams will run out of their budget with 3 races left.
Wow.
So Christian Horner is the one that came out first and said, we need to start, we need to look at increasing the budget cap to tie it to inflation.
Shocker.
Well, here's the thing. The shocking part was most of the teams backed him. And they're like, yeah, we're also, like, even some of the teams that you don't look at as big spenders, like, we're also going to run out. So, like, 7 of the teams, like I said, were, yeah, we need to look at, like, tying it to inflation or doing something here.
So make an adjustment.
Yeah, now unsurprisingly, the vocal against like if they're not able to race, we'll take the points was Gunther Steiner, since Haas doesn't spend any money.
Yeah, right.
So they're nowhere near the cap because they don't develop their car. So they buy the chassis from Dallara and then don't do anything to it. So so he was kind of on the other side, but yeah, it was kind of interesting to see Toto come out and back Horner and say like he's absolutely right. We can't afford this. Like we can't fit it under the cap.
Who are the 3 teams that did not?
So I for sure it's Haas. I want to say the other 2 are Williams and can't remember what the third one is.
Team that's
it might be it might be Alfa Romeo or it might be Alpine. It's one of those 2. It's definitely not AlphaTauri because they'll do whatever Red Bull says. So yeah, but most of the teams are like, yeah, we can't, just because if you think about how much you're paying for gas now imagine you're paying for frigate shipping your cars back and forth, and you budgeted, it's 23 races.
Listen,
here's a good example. They're in Azerbaijan now. Next weekend they're in Canada.
Yeah.
Then the weekend after that they have I think there's 1 week off, and then they're in Europe again.
Right.
That's expensive. And then when you budget out your season, you're thinking, okay, it's going to cost this much money, and now it's like double that, triple it. Like you're going to run out of money. So I think that's the issue.
Well, I'll kind of take it first here.
Well, so I guess the question. Let me throw a question to 2 of you. Should they raise the cap and tie it to inflation, or should it say screw you, just like run on the cheap and don't develop your car? Like, I don't even know if that's feasible to fit under the budget cap, even if they do that. But what do you think they should do?
Well, here's the way I see it. Okay. Yes and no. I know that's a cop-out answer. It's lazy, but here's why I say that. So the reason why I say no is, look, at the end of the day, teams like Ferrari and Red Bull are going to be so much faster, so much better than most of the field to begin with, that even if they all run out of their budget all at the same time, chances are it's still going to be Red Bull and Ferrari at the top, right? I mean, that this is my mindset, right? My thought is they're still going to be at the top. So now you still got them challenging each other for the championship. You still got Max and Leclerc and Checo and Sainz, and you can even throw in some of the Mercedes guys in there because they still have been competitive with Russell and Hamilton. So you still got those guys that are still going to be competing for the championship in the constructors and individual, right, in the world championship. So even if they all run out, I still don't think you're going to get a team that's going to say, well, we all ran out of our budget. We're all capped. And now McLaren is all of a sudden faster than Red Bull and Ferrari.
It's not about faster. They can't race. They can't. They can't exceed the cap. They can't send the cars to the track. They can't run them because they can't pay for the fuel to run them.
Gotcha.
So that's where Gunther's like, we'll take all the points,
well,
except Mick DNF anyway. But
yeah, no kidding. Well, in that aspect, I mean.
So it is threatening to turn into a farce. But on the other hand, like, aren't the teams responsible for managing their budget effectively? Inflation started before the season. Did they expect it to stop? There is some level of irresponsibility too.
They are. So I think that in that aspect, I might change my tune a little bit and say manage your budget a little better, and they don't have to adjust for the inflation. However, if you're going to even it out and even the playing field out and adjust it for everybody, then by all means. The problem is that there's teams that just don't have money, period. Right? So, like, what do those teams do either way? So, Haas is, I don't know if Haas is going to run out of money. They just don't have any money anyway. So, they're not going to, I mean, like, how does that dynamic work, right, Nick? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think also the fact that they've probably had to put, like, some teams have already had to put a ton of development into their cars because of the new car this year. I think that also has a little bit to do with, the inflation and everything like that, as far as like paying more for parts and, development and all that kind of stuff. And I think, because they went into they went into a season with a car that they didn't really have any data on, the, you know, the development costs were going to be a little bit on the high side, even without inflation. But the fact that there is inflation and everything else is getting more expensive, also it makes it really tough to not only keep a competitive car on the track, but to make sure the car even gets to the race. So I think they should, like, if it's really getting tight, like within the last like 5 or so races, then they should increase the budget by like a certain amount to make sure that at least the cars can get get to the races. But as far as like the development and stuff goes, I mean, you know, like I said, they're Ferrari, they're Red Bull, like all of these teams who have obviously a little bit more of the budget than others, like they should be able to adjust to their development and try to twist some things and bend some things around. Not saying bending rules, but bend some things around to make sure that their car can still compete day in and day out.
Well, speaking of that, right?
Well, one of the challenges there is, Jazz, you touched on this. Like, while they would increase the cost cap for everyone. Maybe you tie it to inflation. Maybe you increase it by a percentage and continue to say, if inflation goes to X, we increase it by Y or whatever to kind of mitigate this.
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything for Haas.
No.
The cap could be lower than it is now. They're still not going to hit it. So they're looking at it from a perspective of this is only advantaging teams that actually spend up to the cap. Because we don't. Now,
right.
That's a whole other issue entirely, are they even contributing to the sport enough to warrant their share of the pie? That's a whole other question, right? But so even though it is visibly neutral, it's actually not. It is advantaging certain teams because these three of the teams don't spend, so right. They don't hit the cap. So it doesn't harm them. It doesn't help them to raise it. So that's one of the issues. The other thing I would say is, they were supposed to have an extra race. Remember, Russia was supposed to be there, so they already got rid of one race. So how are they still running out 4 races early? To me, this is partially inflation, partially we've been talking a lot about Red Bull blowing their budget too soon to develop the car, and I feel like part of it is yes, there's obviously inflation is real, but I think they're using that partially as an excuse to kind of get get more money to do development as well. So I kind of agree with Nick's idea of you can spend money on X but not Y. Like if you hit the cap, you can still spend money to run your race weekend, but nothing can go into development.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good way. Speaking of development, as far as the teams that are bringing upgrades to Baku and not, it looks like there's only 2 teams that are going to be bringing some sort of upgrades, right? Red Bull and Mercedes. What's the special setup that Red Bull has going on here? I'm trying to look it up now.
Yeah, they no one has actually come out and said for sure they have upgrades or anything. Red Bull did hint at like they have a special wing they're going to run. We talked about that a little bit earlier to kind of handle the uniqueness of the circuit.
So it's a setup to beat Ferrari and Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, I mean they both know they're gunning for each other, right? That's the ball game.
Come on,
so yeah, there is kind of a rumors that they're going to come out with something that might look like a new wing, but it's not really a new wing. It's kind of a one-off wing.
Right.
And then I think Mercedes also hinted at upgrades, but other than that, all the other teams are kind of like nothing.
Yeah, and well,
And Haas said they'll have
because of the
upgrades
budget
sometimes in 2025. So
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing
yeah,
fixed.
yeah. The budget cap is definitely playing into it. Without clarity on that, some teams are just like, we can't invest right now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see because Monaco is such a different circuit too. So they're coming in with just so we'll see. But yeah, so more so than like an upgrade for Red Bull, it is kind of like a special wing, which they'll probably use a version of at Monza later in the year as well.
Yeah.
So here's awesome. Here's what's awesome for the next 8 weeks. We've got 6 races in the next 8 weeks. None of this taking a week off stuff like we've been seeing. Except that obviously there's two breaks in between these 8 weeks. Hence why there's only 6 races. But as opposed to 4 races where you're taking a week off during every one, I think this is going to be fun because the next 8 weeks you've got obviously Azerbaijan this weekend. Okay, so you've got the Baku GP. Then immediately after that, like as you mentioned earlier, Vish, I mean, going from Azerbaijan to Canada to Montreal in 1 week, that's a hell of a trip, and it's a costly one. So that's going to be interesting to see. Montreal is going to be fun because I think that's one of the last ones that we get to watch at a normal time aside from Circuit of the Americas. So you've got the Montreal Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix, in Montreal in June, and then you go to Silverstone, as they like to say,
so that is the one of the 2 breaks. So there's 2 weeks, right. 2 weeks between Montreal and Silverstone.
And Silverstone, and then you've got they go directly to the Austrian Grand Prix after that, which is kind of like Red Bull's home race, right? I guess.
It is. It's actually did they change? It used to be called the Red Bull Ring.
It is. It's a Red Bull Ring.
It's still the Red Bull Ring.
In Spielberg, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. And then you've got another break in between Austria and France, and you go to the French Grand Prix at Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet. You see how I'm getting better with my pronunciations, man. I'm telling you. The French Grand Prix, and then you end that 8 week 6 race little stint there, a little circuit stint there in Hungary in the Hungaroring. And the Hungarian Grand Prix. So a nice little 8 weeks there. We've got race after race after race, which is nice for us because we don't have to kind of like make up stuff sometimes. Although we really don't. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about anyway.
But I'll tell you where this comes in big. If you have an upgrade, you need it because we've done 8 races. That's 6.
Have we done 8 already? Have we done 8 already?
Yeah. Monaco was the actually the 8th is coming up. So we've done 7.
Okay.
We've done 7 from March all the way to the end of May, and now there's going to be 6 in like the next month and a half.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're all crammed in there. And so if you don't get your upgrades in, by the time this stint is over, you're well past the halfway point of the season.
Right.
So we've all been talking about there's a lot of season left. It all of a sudden goes from a lot of season left to not a lot of season left, like after this thing. So
I think you're definitely going to see that the teams at the top bring some serious upgrades in the next 8 weeks because either Red Bull's going to be able to separate themselves or it's going to be neck and neck with Ferrari, and it's going to be fun down the stretch.
Yeah,
so.
And the other thing is, again, we've talked a lot about this. This is a completely new car concept.
Yes.
I think we're getting to, especially, after maybe half in this 6 race window, maybe halfway through is when teams start saying, all right, next year's car.
Right.
We're done with this year's. We're not competing. Let's turn the page. So we'll see when teams start making that call.
Oh, boy. All right. And last but not least, what you all been waiting for, I don't know. We haven't got any interaction today. Like, everybody's gone. Is everybody watching Marlins baseball?
Maybe the NBA Finals are on. I don't know.
Who cares about that? Jesus.
I know. You figure with the heat gone, we get some more traffic here.
Right.
But yeah, even Jack Daniels didn't show up.
Daniels, Gus, Fernie, nobody, man. Jesus.
We didn't even get our people that usually come over from the 6 Ring show.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's all
right. Predictions. Pick predictions. Manny, we'll get yours also if you got a shot. But we'll start with if you can give us yours, no. If not, we'll start with Nick. All right, we'll wait for Manny at the end. Or you
can either verbally do it, or if you throw in the chat, we can read them out.
Throw it in the chat, Manny.
Yeah, Manny is multitasking. So
Gus
is here. Look at that! Hey,
it's about damn time you say.
Hey, Gus, put your. I I don't know why I'm up there, but Gus, put your prediction in the chat. Let's
there you
interactive
go.
with it.
Nick, what do
Yeah,
you
who
got?
All right. So I have Max 1. I have Sainz. No, I have Leclerc 2, and then I have Perez 3.
Who?
Perez.
Perez. Oh, okay. You said it. You said it like a white guy from North Carolina, bro. You said Perez. I know. I say Perez. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't Perez is the white guy from North Carolina pronunciation?
I don't know, man.
Perez.
Perez is the correct way to say it. Right?
I always say I've always said Sergio Perez.
All right, I'm gonna back out
Perez.
as the resident Indian here and not
you
correct two Hispanic people. Although I do
shut up, Vish.
I have a degree in Spanish. That's me putting my thing out on the table.
Oh, damn. Okay, my bad. Probably know more Spanish than I do. Shit.
But my surprise,
Yes.
I'll have Lando finishing 4th.
All right.
I gotta. So Manny put his. I don't know if
What's
you can look
Manny's
at the chat.
Russell? Jesus Christ Almighty. Russell.
Hold on here. We can show this. This is Manny's.
Yes, please show it. Russell, Max, Leclerc, surprise top 10 Alba.
I mean, you didn't need to do 2 surprises because Russell 1 is already. But
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take it.
All right. And anyway, while we're showing stuff, Gus got Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell.
All right. Okay. That's not bad.
No.
I'll take it. What do you got, Vish?
I got definitely Verstappen. I'll go behind him, Sainz, then Leclerc.
Oh, look at that. All right.
And then surprise. All right, this is a long shot. I'll go with Mick finally scores a point.
That's the purpose of this, you know. Mick scores points. All right.
He's one of 2. So there's 3 drivers that haven't scored a point. One is Hulkenberg, who raced like one race. Latifi and Mick. So it is pretty much a long
scores
shot.
A point. That's a good one.
They haven't developed the Haas since like last year, so it's a power circuit too. So not all sides point to that being wrong, but that's the point.
I like that though. I like that one. I'll take it. All right, so I'm gonna go Max, Leclerc, and I told you guys about Lando, right? So I think he's gonna have a solid race. I think he ends up on the podium. I think he ends up in P3. So I'm gonna go Max, Leclerc, and Lando on this one.
All right.
And my surprise.
I mean, Lando's already a surprise.
I mean, both you and Manny went off the board for Nick's surprise, which I think is actually fair. Like it's not like a cheat surprise. Was Lando 4th, and you like one up them as your actual. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's a fair. It's actually a surprise. If he finishes 4, it would be surprising.
Well,
so.
here you want to.
It wasn't one of those Sainz top 7 ones. Like it was a legitimate one, but then you one up them. So like I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna double down on my surprise. I'm gonna go Alonso top 5.
Oh,
there you go.
You know he's driving the Alpine, right?
Yeah, I do. I do. Just like you know that Mick is driving the Haas, and you want him to score points anyways. All right.
And then Gus has Lando top 5. So we got a lot of Lando love here.
Lando love, baby. We'll take it. We'll take a little papaya power.
The guy was sick, and he still finished in the top 10 a couple of races ago.
I think that him in the podium is going to be. Look, that's not really what I want to happen. I don't mind. I would love Sainz to be there in the podium, but I still think Sainz finishes in the top.
I mean,
top
like
5.
I said, if it gets windy, then it could be shaky.
You guys leave my boy alone, all right? You guys have love for him too. I don't know why you do.
I know he was our boy before he was your boy.
All right, that's messed up.
We're just
up. I love Mr. 55. All right,
yeah,
he's my favorite driver. I love that guy. Anyways, all right, pretty good. We'll have to get Moni's later. But
yeah, and just for clarity, if anyone actually watches this back, we did not fire Moni. She's covering. She's a legitimate newswoman. She's covering the Colombian elections. She's
not like us. She's
not like us. She's actually every time like she doesn't show up because she's got something else she's working on. It's like, why'd you guys get rid of Moni? It's like we didn't do it.
No,
we didn't get rid of her. Don't worry. All right, I think we're good. I think we'll definitely see you guys post race on Sunday.
Well, Manny's got thoughts on Sainz backsliding to McLaren after Ricardo gets fired. That sounds like a topic for next week's show. After Ricardo finishes outside the points again, it says like I don't know what happens. I don't know what happened.
After Ricardo finishes 17th, right in front of Latifi. Oh my God! Thank you guys for joining us on the show today. Catch us every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. right here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons and on Instagram at Hitting the Apex 5R. This was the Baku GP preview. We'll see you guys on the post race.
Yeah, it is Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
It is. It's the Grand Prix, but it's a Baku GP preview. We'll see you guys post race on Sunday at around, let's say 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll see. It depends on how many red flags. But we'll see you guys on Sunday morning after the race. Make sure you keep it locked on 5 Reasons Sports and on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons, Instagram, Hitting the Apex 5R. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Take it easy.